So I started studying music production at the Pop Academy in Mannheim half a year ago, which is really cool. You learn how to record bands and stuff in a big studio that you can access 24/7, and the whole thing is like only 5 minutes away from my place, which is very convenient. And they have a lot of cool gear there that you can always use, and also rehearsal rooms for bands with keyboards and stuff to use. And they just recently installed the new EDM studio, which is still kind of under construction, where we have some CDJs to practice DJing with. And we also got a modular system, and I met these two guys there who were like twisting knobs on the modular, and the other guy was just playing with his harp. That's a really cool thing about this this university, that you like stumble upon people making music all the time and you get inspired everywhere, and great people to work with here. So today I want to show you how to make big melodic dubstep chords. And I want to show you how I made that Metro Goldwyn Mayer growl that I posted on my Facebook page. And last but not least, I want to show you a bit how I master my tracks. So let's start with the big chord stack thing. For the main sound, I used a layer of two VST plugins, JP6K, maybe an emulation of the Jupiter 6, and Massive. And the JP6K does detuned saws, and Massive just does stereo saws as well, but not detuned, just clean. And this just perfectly layers with the detuned saws. You can also make the big detuned saws in Massive. I can show you how. You just activate all oscillators, turn them all on saw, then you detune them a bit, this one up, 0.2, this one down, and then you use a very high unisono value. Make sure to keep it on polyphonic, of course, and use the detune here a little bit, and then Massive is on solo. Oh, that's very detuned already. Maybe a little bit less, and we can also add some bright noise here. Then it sounds pretty much the same. I gotta restore the initial sound again. So there we go. And on this one, I got layered a preset from the plugin called Gladiator. It's a lead preset called Angry Sauce. I've also heard the preset in Skrillex's track Kill Everybody. He used it there in an unedited version. This just does a very high note on these chords, which just like gives an accent to the whole thing. I love its screechiness, which is just layers up great with these chords. And another thing that stacks on this is the bass, which is just a normal saw wave through a heavy tube distortion with some white noise. And this just sounds like that. And that's our huge stack already. I didn't use much effects on everything. I pretty much only got some EQing to make it like to cut the low frequencies from everything except from the bass sound, and some slight compression. Yeah, then you have this already. And if you then add some drums with sidechaining, you already got the second sound that appears in these breaks is a plug sound from a layer of three sounds, two Nexus presets and a Massive layer. The Massive layer sounds like this. It's from one of my Massive preset libraries that I made. It just like it uses the sample and hold together with some interesting wavetables and a filter plug. And an interesting point here is these plugs are all very delay heavy and have a lot of reverb. But it cuts off immediately after after their part ended. It just doesn't continue when the next big chord hit comes. So these two things, the big chords and the plucks, stay separated from each other, which gives a very clean mix afterwards, and I like this effect. So the next thing I want to show you is the weird growl sound that I made in Ableton. It's one of the first times that I've used Ableton so far, and I really like it. The general workflow feels a little bit less like composing and more like engineering because of all these integrated effects and the general visual appearance. But I really like the effect chains that you can make, and the integrated effects sound really cool. So I made this growl out of 3 parts. Like I used Citrus for the main sound. I used the original Lion's Roar, but just very slightly, and edited it with some distortion, and a sub-sinus from Massive, which is very simple. So I started with Citrus, and the initial patch just sounds like this. So very weird. And what I've automated so far is the track volume, so that it gets louder when the Lion's Roar got louder as well. So I just kind of checked how loud the lion gets throughout his roars and tried to copy that. And I've automated the pitch a bit, so it goes up and down. I can put the Citrus patch into the description, so you can download it if you want. So, and then the fun begins with all these effects that I've put on this. I started with a tube distortion, then erosion, which just adds stereo white noise to the sound in a very dynamic way. Then some more compressing. Then even more compressing with a multiband compressor, and more distortion on the top end. And then I made an effect rack with a bunch of EQs and whatever. Like I made some macro knobs here. You have a high pass filter here with strong resonance that is modulated together with the pitch. So every time the pitch goes up, the high pass filter goes up as well to put some additional resonance on the lower formant. And then I have this growl knob, which modulates these 2 equalizers over here after there was some homicide on the sound and some wow filter. And then you have this growl knob over here, which modulates between these 2 formant EQs, pretty much like Dan Larson did in his Zomboy Growl. And after that, we have vocodecs and another multiband compression, and a filter that just cuts away the high frequency sometimes to make it a little more organic. So now it sounds like this. And vocodecs is very important on this. It does cool saturation and distortion. Yeah, no chance. So this, however, this is very important. Very useful. And after that we got some slight saturation again, and some more multiband compressing, and another general equalizer which just shapes the whole thing. Yeah, that sounds beautiful. And at the end, another compressor to sum it all up. I will freeze this now, so my laptop will stop struggling. Beautiful. And then I have a sub-sine wave here, which just does exactly the same as the Citrus sound. So it just adds the bass to this. And here is the original Lion's Roar, but edited. So it went through vocodecs and some distortion and multiband compression. The original sound is like this. And with all the editing, we got a very weird thing. And I've made this very quiet and just put it in the back, so it just adds like general noise to the whole thing and makes it more realistic. So all together make this nice massive growl. And finally, I want to show you how I master my tracks, because I got a bunch of requests on this. For mastering, I mostly use Isotope's Ozone 5. I got this on my master channel when working on a project already. And I use the equalizer, the multiband dynamics, the stereo imaging, and the maximizer, and sometimes even the post-equalizer to add some more sub, because sub is great. And yeah, I usually start by putting up my bands here from 0 to 128, from there to 1.5, from there to, like, I don't know, 7.5 to 8.5 or 9. And then I do my my compressing here, the bass band here is compressed really strong with a high ratio. The mid band, the low mid band is compressed quite soft, and the higher it gets, the stronger the compression gets again. In the EQ section, I like to use the mid-side EQ, so I can separately EQ the mid signal and the side signal, so I can remove unwanted stereo mud. And I use the matching EQ. I have a bunch of EQs in here that I recorded from other tracks, like from Zomboid tracks or from Cone soundtracks. I think this one here, the red curve, is from Funk Blaster. And I really like to use that one as a matching EQ. So now my track is EQ'd like Funk Blaster. And I really like the Cone sound one because it takes away very, very sharp top-end stuff. I think this is mostly because it was an MP3 that I analyzed, but it sounds good this way. I like it. And in the maximizer section, I use the IRC3 algorithm with full transient recovery and independent stereo channel limiting. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, mostly it just goes out with minus 3.5 dB RMS or something. Pretty much it. Of course, I know that mastering in the real music world happens with more than software VST plugins, but I think that Ozone 5 is a good tool, especially for bedroom producers, to like get your tracks loud and fat. And it's at least better than just using the Waves L2 or something. So yeah, that was it pretty much. Thank you for watching. I hope I was able to tell you something new or help you with whatever you're doing. If you want to know more about certain topics or whatever, leave a comment in the comments section. I will check it out and try to implement whatever you want to know in the next videos. So, thanks again and see you next time.